Hi, my name is Fred Kufner. I'm one of the co-founders of Morphood, and I'm also the chief architect of the company. So I want to take you through a little bit of how Morphood uses Elastic, starting on with my rendition of what the fictitious magazine Elastic and Company is. So here's what we're going to do: talk a little bit about us. Quick video on what Morphood is. Then I'm going to take you through the story of how we landed on Elastic, and then I'll do a quick demo. Okay. So we like to make stuff. So this is a sample of some of our handiwork. So my wife makes wonderful scones. She's a master at sourdough. I make my own limoncello. I make fermented foods. You see kimchi and fermented onions there. There's a brisket. I got a big green egg clone a few years ago that kind of got me started on the smoking. And you'll see the picture of the bacon on the bottom. And I'll tell you a quick story all about the bacon. So I got this. I call it the egg. It's not really an egg, but it's a different brand. And I was making brisket, pulled pork, and such. And then I read an article in the New York Times that you can actually cure your own bacon. So I went down to the local butcher and I said, I need pork belly. And he said, well, you need to order it. So gave him my number. He called me up in a few days. It was a Saturday. And I went down there and he plopped a 13-pound slab of meat on the counter. I had no idea what I was in for. And I said, okay. So I brought it home. I went into the kitchen. I have two, at the time, they were teenage daughters. They're in their 20s now. And I said, guys, help me make bacon. So I had an interesting recipe, and I said, all right, help me get the ingredients. So I looked at the recipe, and it was, I'm not going to go through them all, but it was like brown sugar, garlic. And I said, oh my God, juniper berries. And my wife walks in and says, I have juniper berries. I'm like, oh, awesome. Figure she has juniper berries. And she sees the meat. It's a big slab of meat on the counter. And she was incredulous. And she said, what is that? I said, I'm making bacon. So go through, put all the ingredients together. You put it in a big plastic bag, and then you put it in the fridge for a week. And every day you massage it a little bit. And then after a week, you rinse it off. And so it was that a week later that I rinsed it off, and then I smoked it on the egg for a couple of hours at a low temperature. Bacon's cooked. A lot of people don't know that. So I then took the bacon out, sliced it ever so carefully, and we had the bacon. And it was the best bacon that we had ever had. Not that bacon needed to be improved upon, but it was amazing. It was the right balance of salty, sweet, and smoky. And it was the best bacon anyone has ever had. So the payout for me wasn't just the wonderful bacon. It was the Wednesday following. I came home from work, and there was a deli slicer on the counter, and there it is right there. My wife, no conversation. Should we get this? Should we spend the money? So there was a deli slicer. So that was validation for me that the bacon was a hit. So I'm going to show you a quick video. We produced this video recently as a way to kind of show what is Morphood, what's the story, what's the elevator pitch. So this is a minute video, and I think it does a pretty good job. I hope it does a good job as to what our endeavor is. So I'm going to play it now. So hopefully that meets the mark as to what Morphood is. So let me take you through our journey. So my business partner and I, we've known each other for a long time. He's actually a family friend, or a friend of the family. He's my wife's cousin, and we've known each other. And we were hanging out one time, the two families. We actually live outside, as the map. So we live outside of Manhattan, about 30 miles east on the North Shore of Long Island. We were talking about how we both like to cook. He has a great garden. He grows his own corn and Brussels sprouts and all. And we were both lamenting on how frustrating it is to find recipes online, right? Sites are slow. There's too many ads. It's busy. And like, I got to go to one site and then go to another site. You really can't compare recipes. And we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we could build our own? Now, we didn't work together. He's on Wall Street. I worked at the time I was working for a consulting company. And we said, we should probably build our own. And if we made it kind of to address all these things that were bothering us, we think it would be really cool. And so we decided that we're gonna build our own. And so this is actually a recipe of one of the bacon batches that I made. This one actually includes bourbon, and it wasn't a hit. It was okay. It wasn't that great. But we decided there's an opportunity to show a picture of the recipes. We decided that if we build it and everyone in our family and our close friends liked it, then we hit it right. So we started thinking about, what do we want in our product? What is essentially our MVP? We wanted a clean user interface. We wanted to get recipes from a lot of different sites, and aggregate them from many sites. And it'd be great if we had to compare. If you ever shop for appliances, you can do a compare and say, oh, well, let me compare this feature and that feature with the column view and such. Has to work perfectly on a mobile device. Great if we can integrate very detailed nutrition information. Think of it as like as simple as Google is to find things, right? That's what we were shooting for, right? And so now I had 25, 30 years of coding experience. My partner also did. He's got a PhD in organic chemistry, physical chemistry. But we said, let's try no code. So we started looking at some of the no code solutions out there. You might know some of these if you've gone down this path, but we looked at Wix, I looked at Wapple, and Bubble, and we decided to consume an external recipe API. So to essentially say, hey, I want something that has sourdough, and give me the recipe. So that's what we started off with, right? So it was easy to use. We settled on Bubble, built-in database, built-in search. I could put together a user interface very quickly, and no infrastructure, right? So this seemed like a win for us. So that's what we started off with, no code. Now, we quickly realized that we need to code, no code or yes code or so forth. And we learned that this external recipe API wasn't quite robust enough for us, right? We would do a search and we would get back and we were missing some information, and there were certain sites that we really liked. We're both into, paleo, low carb. Eric has, my partner has specific requirements for diets relating to candida and so forth, candida. And so we said, we might need to write our own crawler. And we did. We wrote our own crawler, and then we started inserting the recipes into Bubble. And we learned quickly that Bubble couldn't handle the velocity or the volume of these recipes that we inserted into Bubble. So we built a crawler, and now we need to build a website, right? So we went from no code to we need to build a website. We're building our own crawler. Now we have to figure out what stack we're going to use. So we looked closely at the front end frameworks, React, Angular, and Vue. Settled on Vue. Realized that I wanted to use GraphQL as our middle tier, and MongoDB looked like a great fit for the data we were storing. The NoSQL approach was a great match. Didn't know anything about NoSQL, but we looked at it. And we started thinking, okay, we went from no code. Now we need to build our own web server. We need to build our own back end. And do we want to use our own boxes for MongoDB? And so we decided on MongoDB Atlas, which is the hosted MongoDB, right? So if anyone here is familiar with MongoDB, it's an open source solution, but you can actually pay Mongo for their hosted version. And what's great about their hosted version is that they have a search engine that's built on Lucene on top, so you can actually have your data there and you can do the search. So for me, that was great because I didn't know anything about Mongo. I didn't know anything about NoSQL, and I certainly didn't know anything about search. I had never used Lucene. So we were rolling, right? We were using Mongo as our data store, had the search, GraphQL as our API, middle tier, and we use Vue on the front end. So we actually met with the MongoDB Atlas team. We showed them our approach, the use case. They were very excited and they were very helpful. That is until we had some challenges. Now, we've kind of building a collection of these problems or challenges as we call them. So we had the chicken problem. So at the time we had about 350,000 recipes. And when we did a search on chicken, it would actually time out after say 25 seconds. Turns out there were 60,000 recipes out of the 350,000 that had chicken in them. And the search was timing out. And so the search timed out, GraphQL timed out, and we had some errors. We also had some challenges in getting counts, right? How many of these 60,000 recipes were from this particular site? How many had garlic? How many didn't have soy, and so forth? We also had some issues with pagination. I don't think there were MongoDB issues. It's just our use case was fairly complex. And then we had a situation where the index, which was what the Lucene search was built on, was actually down for 24 hours. So the data was there, but we couldn't do a search. So we were scrambling to find out, all right, what do we do? Turns out it was nothing that we did. It was a problem with the backend. So we had to scramble to find an alternative, right? And I was initially thinking this was just going to be a backup in case I ran into this situation before, but I thought long and hard. I'm like, all right, I need to find something that I can really that really worked for us and was dependable. So we looked at other places that hosted Mongo, which are a bunch out there. I keep seeing Elastic mentioned in search engines, and I avoided it because I didn't know anything about it. But I did stumble upon Algolia. The hosted Mongos were a non-starter for us because they had no search, and I still was really ignorant about Elastic, and Algolia looked very interesting and it had some pretty good reviews. So I started integrating our data, essentially our data store of recipes, into Algolia, and it was actually pretty easy. We were able to ingest 350,000 recipes pretty quickly into their data store. It was easy because our recipes were already stored in a JSON format, and that worked out well. And they had a really easy and pretty way to bolt on UI components to user interface. Some of the issues that I discovered quickly were it wasn't truly responsive, right? So we made a very conscious decision that everything that we did had to work mobile as well as the desktop. So that was an issue. And I already had a fairly sophisticated user interface. And so whereas Algolia has great tools, and if I had nothing, I think it would be perfect. It didn't lend itself well to me using just their technology. They really wanted me, or maybe it's changed now, they wanted me to use their user interface. And it was kind of expensive. So I still wasn't really happy with Algolia. And I knew that I needed something else. So I said, I think maybe now I need to start looking at Elastic. And so we started looking at, right away, we looked at the Elastic Cloud. I don't think we wanted to bother with our own servers and having to manage that. So it looked pretty promising initially, right? There was a Python API, which was good for our crawler, which was written in Python, JavaScript and TypeScript libraries. And actually, we met with the account team. So when we signed up, folks from the Elastic account teams reach out to us, and were pretty helpful very early on, right? We weren't even paying yet. We were kind of thinking about it. Modified the crawler easily to, instead of writing to Algolia or Mongo, with the Python library, we dumped it into Elastic, 350,000 recipes. And I remember the first day we got search results back in milliseconds. I was blown away with the performance, and it's only gotten better since then. So we were pretty excited, and so we said, you know, we're going to go with Elastic, and not only just Elastic, it's Elastic, the Elastic in the cloud, so the Elastic Cloud. And so some of the problems that we had along the way that were interesting. So we discussed the chicken problem in the timeout. We also had a situation where, well, for example, my wife was wanting to look for a recipe called how to make soba noodles. And initially it was coming back with how to make anything, like, so how to make pizza, how to make lasagna was coming back. So Elastic has very granular tools to, in this case, there were stop words that we leverage, where we can kind of say these words are really not that important in a search, so ignore like recipe and how to and so forth. So we fixed the soba noodle problem, and it has a very aggregations and such. I don't want to get too technical, but faceted search, the ability to search for something and say, all right, I got 60,000 chicken recipes. I only want recipes without soy. I don't like this particular site that has recipes, and I want 5 stars. So we can do that kind of calculations with faceted, with aggregations with Elastic. And infinite scroll, the scrolling capability that we built into would just work very well with Elastic. So we're now about at 1 million recipes, growing. Chicken at the time, actually, it's funny. We're now at 77,000 chicken recipes. Side note. Chicken is not the most populous ingredient or populous search term, at least so far. Salt is. We should have figured that out right away. So salt has a couple 100,000 recipes have salt. So so we were pretty excited with Elastic, such that we moved essentially everything into Elastic. So we have a rules engine for our search engine / crawler. That was using, initially was using Google Sheets, and then we moved it to Mongo, but now that's in Elastic. We wrote a content management system to allow us to have flexible content built in Markdown. So that's in Elastic. Our user database is in Elastic, and the performance is still incredible. We're getting, you know, sub-second results with our current data set. And synonyms are a very interesting thing that we made use of, right? So if you search for, you know, for example, you search for coriander, we know that that's actually the same as cilantro. So we actually built a data set of a file of synonyms where, you know, if you search for one particular thing, you'll get the others that are synonyms for that. So I'm going to pause here. And now I'm going to switch over to do the demo of Morphood. So I will say that we are currently in stealth mode, meaning that we're not out. We're about to launch a friends and family beta. The site is accessible, and so at the time of this airing, you're going to be able to go to it. But we're not officially launched yet. So we're going to do a quick demo right now. So what I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to make something tonight, and I think I want to make ceviche. Right. So let me type in ceviche and see the results for ceviche. So we're coming back in, 0.19 seconds, a couple hundred milliseconds. So here are the results for ceviche. And we got a bunch, but we built in the infinite scroll. So if I scroll down, I'm going to keep fetching more, right? Telling Elastic that I want the next batch. So what I'm going to show you right now is a couple of the interesting aspects of Morphood. So I want to make ceviche, but I'm not sure what I want to do, which one I want to use. All right. So we have recipes from all these different sites. There's several hundred sites and growing. So I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to add it to a compare. I'm going to pick the first 4 just to make it simple. Right. So I added these 4 to compare. You see the little, the icon changes. And now I'm going to go to the compare view. And there we go. We see the recipes column. I'm going to make the display bigger so that we can see. So now I'm looking at these recipes side by side. This was a big a big win for us, right? Number one, we don't think we have any competitors doing this. And actually, I should say number one, my wife wanted this. She said, if you're ever going to build this site, it has to have a recipe compare. So what I want to do is I want to look at the ingredients side by side. So let me see. So here are the ingredients, right? This one looks a lot more ingredients, and I can see the instructions. Which one am I going to make? This one's nice. That's a pretty picture. So let me click on that one, and I'm looking at. So you notice this is live. We're running. This is not a canned demo. We're actually hitting the servers as we speak. So drilling into the recipe. Now, what's interesting here is that this format is the same no matter what recipe that we're looking at. So I'm looking at this one from Slender Kitchen. If I go back and I look at this one from All Recipes, it's all the same. That's how we're able to do the comparison. But let me go back to this recipe here, and let me look at the ingredients. Right. So, I don't have fish. Actually, you know what? I have red onions. I don't have fish, but I got these ingredients. And maybe what I want to do is I want to text it to myself, so when I go out, I can go and buy the things that I need. So I just copied it to the clipboard, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit full screen, and I'm going to text myself. I should show you the design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to text it to myself the ingredients. So what it did is it only copied those ingredients that were unchecked. So you could check off the ingredients or the instructions, right, as you go through. So it only texted those that I didn't check, right? So I texted to myself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my phone, and I'm going to show you how I might use this. So here is my phone, right? And actually what I want to do is I want to open up my text. This is the text that I just sent. I'm going to click on the link, and there it is. There's the recipe. All right, cool. So I need to, you know what, I forgot. I don't have avocados. I need to buy avocados. So looks great on the phone. You could do a search here. So if I want to search for sourdough, I'll show you how this works on the phone. Let's do sourdough, right? So here are the search results. We can adjust the size. So I like big pictures sometimes. So let me make them big. And there we have it, right? So there's our sourdough. Let me go back to this. One thing that's actually kind of interesting, I'm not sure how we're doing on time. People always say, when I'm using my phone, it's kind of annoying when the screen lock kicks in. We have this ability to say stay awake. So what this will do is it'll prevent your screensaver from kicking in while you're cooking, right? And I think that's the end of the show.